Welcome. I am so excited. This is something that I've been wanting to do for so long and haven't really had the courage to do it, but I am officially launching my video blog. So I guess it's called a vlog. I'm so new to this. Confessions of a Recovering Perfectionist, which you'll learn throughout my entries and my videos, kind of how I've become a recovering perfectionist and a little bit about my story, and share a little bit of things that I have done along the way that I've really enjoyed and feel like others would enjoy too. So a little about myself. First of all, I'm going to give you a little disclaimer. Like I said, recovering perfectionist. I am at home while the kids are at school doing this first video. The dogs are downstairs. I have 2 dogs. They may start barking at any point. They may come upstairs. Who knows? Just giving you a warning that this is real life. I want it to be real life. Who knows what's going to happen? Don't want it to be rehearsed because that's not really what I'm looking for. With that disclaimer, I am going to tell you a little about myself. So I am a mom. I have 3 kids. My husband and I and my kids live in a little coastal town in Massachusetts. And I have a 8-year-old and 2 6-year-old twins, which means life is a little busy and chaotic all the time. And that was something the perfectionist and the need to have everything perfect and the overachiever in me really had to step back and learn that that was not going to work in our life anymore. So long story short, I will get into that long journey on another story. I found myself looking for a community of women and moms and other people who didn't necessarily have it all together, wanted to look like they had it all together, but also didn't have the time to really invest all of this time to looking and feeling put together. And I was finding it was hard to find that community. You know, as moms, I feel like we search a lot for our identity, and it's so hard. There's so many posts and so many things about finding mom friends or, finding women friends in your adulthood. And I found, for me, I really needed to find a community. So when the idea of having my own little blog or video series or whatever I was kind of thinking about, I really wanted to build a community. Not necessarily a community of just women or a community of just moms. I really wanted to provide this sense of we all have these moments that we struggle. We all have these things that we really want to work on. And we're all just trying to figure out who we are in that feeling of what is our identity. So that is the basis and how Confessions of a Recovering Perfectionist kind of started. And what really was hard for me was figuring out a starting point. And I was chatting with some friends and some other women, and I said, what are things that you struggle with? What are things that you're really unsure about or things that you feel that you need support with? And a lot of people were saying, I want to do these things or achieve these things, but I'm feeling so overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. I have kids going to school. I have activities. I have, a baby at home. I'm trying to work. I'm a work at home mom. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't know what to do. And a lot of times I get the question, how do you do it all? And I don't. And that's really the honest truth. And I don't think people necessarily like that truth. But I don't do it all. And I've learned, especially over the last 6 years, as we've kind of had to adjust to having so many children so close in age, just to work smarter and be okay with everything not being perfect. So my real goal today is, it's New Year's time of year, 2020, which I can't even believe is 2020. And everyone's talking about resolutions. And I am not really a resolutions kind of person. I've worked really hard on being okay with my own imperfections and my own things that make me who I am, and being okay with that and not feeling as much guilt. I'm not saying I'm an awful person and it's like, okay, I'm imperfect, I got that. More of acknowledging I'm not going to be perfect, to let the overachiever go, and to really focus on enhancing and embracing the things that I love about me or that I am proud of. So with that being said, I wanted to share a little bit about how I set my New Year's resolutions, which aren't resolutions, they're more of goals, and give a little advice on how I do it quickly, effectively, and how I can actually manage and measure them. So to tell you about that, I'll back up a little bit further again and just say I am a former special ed teacher. So for me, data, organization, timelines, planning, that is all my like bread and butter. Like I love that stuff. I did it for years. The only reason I don't continue to do it is that I've kind of moved on and I'm starting my own education consultant business. So for me, that data, that organization, it is right up my alley. And for some people, that's not your thing. So what I wanted to do was to share some little tricks and some little tips to help you not feel so overwhelmed if there are things on your mind that you want to do. So to start that, the first thing you have to do is you have to think, what area in my life or what do I want to work on? So I am going to just kind of walk you through this step using my own experience. I ran a marathon. I've run a few, I should say. I ran a marathon a year or so after the twins were born. And I'm going to walk you through how this method of goal setting and resolution setting got me to that end result, and then kind of give you ideas throughout the way that you can also use that for your own resolutions. So for me, the basic important thing, the overarching thing was I have 3 kids, 3 and under. I'm feeling very lost, that there's really no identity or time for me. And that was really, really challenging for me because I had to be a mom to these children, be a wife, but also sit here and go, what about me can I be working toward? I didn't want something that was necessarily work related because I knew I couldn't do work. But I wanted something that I could feel proud of achieving. And for me, a marathon was the right choice because I could also work on this whole idea of being healthy and having this empowerment and this strength. So for me, I chose to run a marathon. Now, this is where we're going to break it down. My overarching goal, healthy. The way I wanted to achieve that was to work on a marathon. So now this is where the teacher in me, and bear with me because I never really know if the cards are going to come out right, if they're backwards or not. It's all a learning process. Welcome to being a recovering perfectionist. So your goal should be SMART. It's super easy to remember, SMART. Think, if I want it to work, I need to be smart about it. So SMART actually stands for something. So the first thing is specific. So your goal needs to be specific. So you can't just say, I want to be healthy. There is no way that you are going to, as a busy parent, a busy woman, a busy mom, whatever, if you're already struggling to figure out how to fit it all in, being healthy is just going to be too much to figure out. So be specific. Mine was, I want to be healthy. I'm going to be specific and run a marathon. Specific. If you are looking to be more organized in your life, what's your specific? Am I going to organize my kitchen? Am I going to have an organized workspace? Am I going to be more organized with scheduling my kids' events? You need to choose something that is more focused and specific, because if you take off too much at once, you're not going to do it. And chances are you're like me, you're just going to give up. So make sure your goal is specific. The next one is measurable. So this is the M in SMART. So it needs to be something you can measure. Being healthy, you can measure in so many different ways, but there's so much ambiguity to it. So for me, healthy is balance with eating. I have learned that I can't do diets or restrict food. More on that in another story. Love to share that with you. But for me, being healthy needs to be measurable. For me, measuring that I was healthy was training for a marathon. I knew that I would be working out and eating to fuel my body if I was training for a marathon. So it needs to be measurable. This is where I add my own little spin. I also think your goal needs to be meaningful. So if you're someone who's also trying to be healthy, perhaps meaningful for you would not be a marathon. Perhaps meaningful for you would be cutting out your afternoon Diet Coke, which I have done. And it's really, really hard. I love my Diet Coke for that extra pick-me-up. Make it meaningful. My goal doesn't need to be your goal. Your goal doesn't need to be my goal. Your goal doesn't need to be the same as the person down the street. It needs to be meaningful for you, because if it's not connecting to you, you're not going to follow through with it. So to the A, attainable. You cannot just get up and say, I am going to be healthy and I'm going to lose 5 clothing sizes in a month and I'm going to work out 5 days a week. If you aren't on that path already, it's going to be really, really hard to do that. So make it attainable. For me, I knew that I had run multiple half marathons, which if you're not sure is 13.1 miles. A full marathon is 26.2. I knew I had done at least half of that. I actually knew that I had done more than half of that while I was training for the half marathon. So it needs to be attainable. If you want to be healthy and you are going to commit to working out more, if you're not working out at all right now, 1 to 2 times a week is okay to start for your goal. You cannot say I'm going to work out 5 days a week, because the first time you don't, you're just going to decide you're done with it. So make it attainable, something that really, truly you can do. Because if you can't reach your goal, then why are you having that goal? Accountable. So this is, again, my own addition to the SMART goal. You need to have someone that holds you accountable. I want to say that I'm super driven and that I was all about watching myself and following the calendar and doing it. I wasn't. To be accountable, I joined groups on Facebook that had running. I did the local running team. I found friends that would run with me because I would needed someone to hold me accountable, because the first time that it got hard, I would have given up. So find ways to be accountable. Maybe you make a vision board. Maybe you make a chart. And if you're trying to be more organized, every day that you follow through in your goal, you put an X. I'm a huge visual person. I love to see those X's. Make yourself accountable. There's lots of different ways for that. Realistic. Like I said earlier, it's the same thing as measurable. Is running a marathon for you realistic where you are? For me, it was. For others, it may not have been. Is going to the gym 5 days a week realistic for you? Is finding yourself a whole new method to organize your kids' social calendars? Is that realistic? Something that's realistic to you. Because again, if it's not something that you can achieve, it's not a goal for you. And I'm not saying not dream big, but you can dream big while scaling down and getting those benchmarks along the way. And then the last one is timely. So for me, I knew I needed a full year to train for that marathon. Maybe your goal for the year is to be more organized around your kids' activities. Maybe the first month is I will implement a family calendar. Maybe you'll do a whiteboard. And then the next month you'll do something else. But don't think you have to have this goal into such a short period of time. If you build those little steps as you're going to find yourself become more successful, and you're going to find yourself be more available to continue on with this process. Now, I know the question everyone is asking is, that's real great, Liz, but we just talked about how we're all busy and we have no time. This process can take as long as you need it to. When I sat down and planned what I wanted to do, it took me 10 minutes to make a goal and to go through the steps. because you really only need to ask yourself these questions. My goal, be healthy. Okay, specifically, how am I going to achieve that? They lead you on as you go. And you don't need to take much longer than 10-15 minutes. So that is kind of what I wanted to share, is just these SMART goals. We're all talking about New Year's resolutions. I thought it was a great place to start and to help others as well as myself get ready and start 2020 on the right foot. This is it. I'm going to leave you guys. I know that's a lot of information, but I am so excited to kind of dive into this platform, figure out what I want to share, and just really work on building that community. So thank you for taking the time to watch my first one and for dealing with the fast speaking, the excitement, and everything else. And stay tuned. I have some things up my sleeve for next week.